Karen Bonifilio, Inner Realms, Outer Journeys. We have Bonnie back. Bonnie was sharing about being a death doula the other day, and it was so fascinating. But there are some other aspects about her that you don't know. Do you like to say hello, Bonnie?
Hello, Bonnie.
Well, you know what? She's a psychic medium. So we're going to talk to her about her abilities. And the only thing I know about her is she was around 17 when she discovered those abilities. So, Bonnie, tell us a little bit about your journey first.
Okay. Yeah, when I was 17, the first experience I ever had was an out of body experience where you come out of your body at night
Yes.
and go float around. That launched me into New Age. And back then, a very different thing. Um, so it just became one thing after another. And everything from visions to hearing voices to knowing things before they happen, knowing when the phone rings, who is it, the deja vu type things where you've been there before. And then I think I described to you last time the one experience I had that kind of shut the door for me for a while. And that was about knowing a neighbor was having troubles.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. That was
And when
tragic.
that happened, excuse me, my eyes, I just shut the door. I wasn't sure I could do the good and the bad both. So,
Gotcha.
But in between, even after shutting the door, I'd still get visions.
Mm-hmm.
I just really never got the bad ones. And it was probably, when I think back, just to remind me that I've got the gift. And bottom line, everybody has this gift. It's just a matter of exercising it and using it to the fullest. It's like a muscle. It's actually, it's a gland in your body called the pineal gland. And if you start by meditating and focusing your mind and working on that, and then from there you get involved with other groups and you start exercising that, you then have to learn to trust. And that's a difficult thing to learn to go, okay, I'm not going to sound crazy. This is this gift. And I can't tell you how many people we've brought in that didn't think they had the gift, and they're incredibly gifted. Because, like I said, we all have it. It's just using it. Some of us have a thinner veil sooner than others. The veil being the part between this world and the next. So, did I mention last time? I don't know if I mentioned to you the story of knowing I had a neighbor who was 9 months pregnant. And
no, I haven't heard this one.
Hadn't heard that one. Okay. I woke up from like a daydream type of thing I was having. And it was like a colored vision. Okay, the best way I can describe it. And I knew that she was going to have that baby and that I was going to have to watch the kids for her. And so later that day, I saw her come home from work, and she was wearing the same clothes that she was in my vision. So I went out on a limb, and I went over there, and I said, Diane, I am pretty certain you're going to have that baby tonight. And she said, just came from the doctor. He said, nothing's happening. This was her third child. I said, okay, well, that's fine. I just want you to know I'll be home, and I'm more than willing to take care of the kids. And she said,
great.
oh, that's nice of you, but Steve's dad's going to come over. I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. So that night, and it was summertime or springtime, it wasn't super hot. And I put my kids to bed. It was about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. The phone rang, and I just picked it up and I said, "Hi, Steve."
Oh.
Of course, that kind of threw him off. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
"Bonnie, we can't find my dad, and she's in labor." And she said, "You would come get the kids." I said, "I'll be right there." So I ran
Good.
over. Now, something that people, when they discovered you had this gift, they want to know more. That's the first thing.
Yes.
Number two, mothers in labor like to talk.
Oh.
So when I got there, it was all chat, chat, chat. And I had to stop them. And I said, "Steve, you get her to the hospital now. You don't have time to fool around." And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "I'll take the kids back to my home." 35 minutes later, I got a phone call from him that they'd had a baby girl. That
So
hospital
quickly.
was 20 minutes away.
That's nice, fast labor.
Right.
God. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. And she
So,
wanted to chat with you.
oh yeah, it's something about new mothers, and then knowing, how did you know, and da da da, and I'm like, you don't have time to listen to this story.
No, not right now. We can talk
Not now.
later.
Let's just move.
So I want to back up the truck a minute because
Sure.
I cannot believe your first experience was out of body.
Oh yeah.
And what? And you were you around 17 at that age?
Yeah, 17, 18. I was
And
I finished up high school and did college at the same time.
yep.
And
Hmm.
so I was it was my senior year of high school, freshman year of college. And
Hmm.
so I took that subject and went with it for a couple coursework. And, back then, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have anything remotely. We had a library, we had encyclopedias, we had just
Right.
books.
Yes. Uh huh.
So I did everything I could to learn. It
Hmm.
was very limited back then.
It
I
was.
still
Hmm.
remember as if it just happened, the feeling. This this meat suit that we're wearing is
It's heavy.
very painful, and you
Hmm.
don't recognize that unless you've gone out of it and had to come back
Hmm.
in. When
For
I came out
okay, go ahead.
when I came out of my body that night, I remember being over my body and just stretching and doing the splits midair, and it was like, oh God, it felt so good. And
Oh,
then I went and
so
floated
you
dip.
weren't afraid or anything. You just it was all natural for you.
Uh, yeah, at those ages, I don't think, probably the most I thought is maybe it was some sort of dream,
Uh huh.
because the next day I talked to my mother about it.
That was
and
my second question. Okay.
I mean, I remember floating through the house, through my brother's room, out of window, and down this alley that we lived by, and just all kinds of things. But then I got sucked back in. Don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. But going back into the body is painful because you were free and now you are
Now
not.
you're not. Right. You're
So
right.
I've spent years trying to duplicate that and haven't been able to. Now I haven't
Haven't
done
been
it
able to do
recent.
astral. You need to focus on astral projection and yeah.
Oh, I've got books on it. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I just have had a few other things on my plate, so I
I
haven't.
know. You do have a lot on your plate. You're a very busy lady. I remember one time, the only time that I remember leaving my body, And I woke up because my daughter and her little friend were standing by the side of my bed because they were scared. They watched a movie that I told them not to watch.
Of course.
So,
That's all girls
um,
will do.
yeah, called Something Wicked This May Come.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Remember
movie.
that? I
Yeah.
think it's a Disney movie too. And they were
I think,
standing like by the side of my bed, and I felt like I was thrown back into my body. It was
yep.
like, oh my God.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a bizarre feeling. And that was the only time that I recall leaving my body.
Yeah.
Okay, so you left your body, you had some things happen to you, but you returned to it and did as much research as you could. And I'm
Mhm.
really glad that you mentioned the meditation and the reading and the trust because people
Oh,
doubt themselves.
trust is the biggest and the most difficult thing to do. And,
Yeah.
having faith that whoever your higher power is has got your back, that you're not going to fail with this. This is a gift they want you to do. And I still, as much as I know and have studied and done, I still have those issues. Um,
Really? I'm
oh, yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. There's something called imposter syndrome that is a tough thing to get over, where
Ah.
it's very common in the beginning of being psychic. You just feel like
Oh.
because you're having to trust,
Hmm.
you're just, am I being a fake? Is this real? That kind of mentality. And it's like, I'm just pretending. No, no, you're not. You're not pretending. It's called
Hmm.
imposter syndrome. Very, very common. Um, and back then, that's just what we felt like. Not sure what was
Yeah.
going to happen, but you do have to.
Hmm.
Even with my death doula business, there is
Hmm.
always that. Will I get the messages I need? I,
I'm just surprised you doubt yourself, but I can understand. I can. It's just to me,
it's a
you seem so.
continual thing because even as doing the live shows that I do, doing
Yep.
readings for people,
Hmm.
nothing
Hmm.
feels better than to have them say, "Oh yeah, that happened or this happened and this you're right there." Whew,
The
you know?
validation. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so you've been doing this for quite some time, and how do you differentiate between your thoughts and maybe the messages that you are getting the messages, and it's not just your thoughts, what you're
it's
thinking?
practice. It is learning the
Practice.
difference between your voice and spirit's voice. And the best I can tell you is you have to focus on where it's coming in your head. Like I know spirit's
Oh,
voice comes in back here, my voice is over here.
oh, interesting.
Also, spirit has no ego. We do. So if it's any
True.
sort of judgment or egotistical thing, I know it's my voice.
That's a good tip right there too. That's a really good tip. If it involves the ego, okay. When you do your readings, do you do anything to prepare yourself for those readings? I've heard all so many different things. Meditation,
Yeah, and
lighting
everybody's
candles.
got their own ritual. I
Yes.
spend um, about an hour before
Oh.
meditating,
Mm-hmm.
cleansing the space, cleansing my
Mm-hmm.
body, shuffling, depending on what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
focusing. Just getting really centered is the best way to describe it.
An hour gives you plenty of time.
You'd be surprised how
Um,
quickly that goes.
so you can get into a meditative state easily. It sounds like.
Sometimes, I mean, yes and no. Um, like I'm sure you didn't hear it, but they were outside mowing the lawn a minute ago. If that's going
Yep.
on, that excessive noise
Oh,
can
yeah.
play with you. So it just
Hmm.
depends. Sometimes I'm right there. Other times I can sit still for a half hour and never get there.
Okay. I feel your pain because it happens to me the same way. And it's like, okay, nothing's happening today. I can't get in that state. And other times it's like, bam, you're right in that meditative state. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have to deal with anything negative, negative energies, or people that are skeptical when you give them readings?
Oh yeah, all of that.
Oh, you do.
When I first decided I was going to reopen this door, and wow, that was back, shoot, 20 years ago, maybe. Um, I was still learning how to protect myself. And you have to protect yourself. I don't care. There are people that say you don't have to protect yourself. Yes, you do. And you're lucky if you don't know that, because you can take on an earthbound spirit. You can have what we call attachments, and they can drain you really quick. I've had both. The first thing I had was an earthbound spirit that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to protect myself, and the spirit got inside me. And
Mm-hmm.
over a period of time, I went from what I called normal to feeling like I had to lift each of my legs into the car because my body was just getting so heavy. And I wasn't even
Wow.
weight. It was just, I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Wow.
So I, one night was, asking God to help me with this. What's going on? And that
Yes.
night I had a dream. It was, it's like one of those dreams you have all night. You're awake, but you're in it. And
Oh,
the whole
wow.
night was like in a stormy sea. I was in this stormy sea and big waves and tossed all over the place. But when I got up the next morning, I felt lighter than a feather.
Oh.
And I went
Oh.
outside, and I mean, I literally felt like I could float. I took my dog for a walk. I called my mom and dad. My dad is a minister, and so he's Reiki qualified and all that kind of stuff too, or was back then. And so I was telling them all about it because they're just fascinated. And
That's good.
yeah, got rid of it. I learned really quick to protect myself.
So what procedure do you use for protection? And is this a daily thing or just when you're doing readings? How do you tell us about that?
I do it well, now I can't say every day. If there's a day that's so busy I don't get to meditate, or if I don't get to come to my office,
Hmm.
I won't have to do that. Normally, I come in here and um, there's a process that, how do you, well, the first thing I do in prayer is I call in Archangel Michael because he's the
Hmm.
big protector. And
Hmm.
I ask him to envelop me in his golden light of protection, like a cocoon. And I also ask him to surround my home. And the
Hmm.
only thing that should be allowed through is the spirit of love and light. Then you know you're safe.
Hmm.
So that's what I do. And then I go into meditation. And I call
That's
in my
great.
spirits and guides and all of them, my staff.
I know our team, that team that we
Yep.
have,
Mm-hmm.
that's really good.
Yep.
And how about skeptics? Because to me, if someone's coming to see you, they want answers. They want to know what's going on. But I guess there are skeptics out there too.
Well, there's always skeptics. Yeah. With skeptics, what I do is I ask them to the best of their ability to embrace it. And I explain the process to them. I explain that, and a lot of the explanation I will do on the phone once they have scheduled an appointment. I will tell
Mm-hmm.
them and make sure they have the right idea of what's going to happen. I'm not going to look in a crystal ball and give them all the answers they want. I'm going to ask them a lot of questions, and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
make a lot of statements. And they're usually all pretty true. What I
Mm-hmm.
explain to people is when I ask questions, it's not because I don't know, it's because it's like reading a road map and you come to a fork in the
Yes.
road. Which way do I go? Well, to give you the
Mm-hmm.
best reading you should have, I got to ask you, okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a question one way or the other, and then I will proceed on. So I think that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. And I hope people settle down once they realize that you are working for their greater good and to bring them messages
Well,
also.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is always for their greatest good, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they do eventually will settle down once you told them several things that are accurate. They
Yes.
usually get that deer in the
Mm-hmm.
headlight look, you know, and that's when
Yeah.
things calm
Yeah.
down.
How'd you know that? So this can affect you emotionally too, because you are giving of yourself. How do you deal with that? How do you revitalize yourself?
Well, we all know the body is mostly water, right?
Yep. What,
And
98% or something?
75 to 80%. Yeah, but
Oh.
um, spirit goes through vibration and electricity. So, what makes it go faster is water, right? So, one of the most important things is to be extremely hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
It will use up the water. All right. So, if I've gotten myself super hydrated because somebody's coming or I'm doing a reading via Zoom, um, I do as much as I can of getting water into my body. And it goes a whole lot easier that way. If I am not
Mm-hmm.
as hydrated, sometimes I might have to work a little harder.
A
And
little
at the
struggle.
end, my energy will be depleted.
So that's just you finding that out as you've been working that you
Oh,
need to
yeah.
focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when we started this interview, I looked over and I thought, I don't have my water because I'm always sipping when I talk to people. So
Yeah.
yeah, I understand about the water and the hydration.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, how do you define the difference between spirituality and religion?
Religion's man made.
Mhm.
Spirituality is not. That is a given. That is through your higher power.
Right.
Um, there's a huge difference there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it
Okay.
always kind of ticks me off when people get into that. This is not based on any religion.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think about my religious friends. Well, we differ in a lot of opinions. So,
I
yeah,
have
we won't.
a lot of religious friends, and then I have recovering religious friends. I
Yeah,
call them
this is
recovering
true.
Catholics.
Yeah. Oh, no offense to any Catholics out there, but
Oh, no,
that,
not at all.
yeah,
Not at all.
yeah, I know.
But,
I
the
know.
Catholic Church is pretty damning on certain things. And
Well, I had a friend who decided years ago she was going to join her church, and she chose the Catholic Church. And I said, "Why did you choose such a guilt-based religion out of all the religions?" And she hadn't really thought about it that way. Yeah. But anyway, again, not finding fault with any
No,
Catholicism at all.
no.
Yeah. Bonnie, do you have signs or symbols that you see and they mean certain things to you when you're
Oh,
having
yeah.
your
Yeah.
sessions?
There's something called sacred geometry. Um,
Oh, that reminds me of Metatron.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Metatron.
Arkansas Metatron.
Uh
Hmm.
huh. Yeah. That was one of the first things they told me to learn was sacred geometry. It's not easy to learn that.
Oh,
Um, to learn these because they can be so intricate, the different symbols, and it's easier for them to communicate to me through symbols, but it's not always as easy for me to interpret them.
oh, I hadn't heard about using sacred geometry that way. Oh, interesting. Are there any other symbols? Because that sounds like you're going to be sitting down figuring out a lot of symbols with
Oh,
thumbing
I've got
through a
a
book.
whole deck of cards that I still I still fight with it because they're so intricate, you know. Let me see if I think I've got a
I
couple of
bet you
them.
have a lot of cards.
Yeah. Okay, here's Metatron's cube. Now I don't know how if you're even going to see that.
Oh, I can see it. Yes, yes. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it gives you
Hmm.
a little brief thing on what it is, you know, and this is the flower of life. There's just a whole stack of them. And
Uh-huh.
you want to make sure you know the whole thing because they might only give you part of it.
Oh, you got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, I don't want to get those symbols. I don't want. That's too much work for me.
It's not easy. I'm still,
That's a lot of work. Oh gosh, it is. Um, you have answered so many questions, and some of them I already know the answer to. Um, well, maybe it's because I know you so well.
mm-hmm.
Um, can you tell us about another memorable experience? Anything life changing? I mean, I know, the one with your neighbor having a child was pretty incredible.
Yeah. I usually know when to call people. Um, if something big is happening, or I'll get a certain feeling about something.
Hmm.
Um, my biggest thing right now is trying to sift away fear from it because fear can play with that really big. But I'll get a feeling about somebody in the family and I'll call and, yeah, something's going on, or no, not a thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so I've got that. So yeah, I've already told you the big one about the neighbor. Oh, I know
Yes.
the one time I took my husband was a pilot. And so I
Hmm.
took him to the airport and dropped him off. And I went back, and on my way home, I stopped at a friend's house. She wanted to visit. So I went there. We were just visiting, and all of a sudden her phone rang. And I looked at her and I said, "That's Walt. He's forgotten his ID." And
Oh
she
my,
looked at me.
meaning your husband, Walt, or
My husband had
oh, okay.
forgotten his identification.
Oh no,
So, and sure enough, that's what it was. So I had to run home and get it and go back, give it to
to the
him. And
airport.
yep. So it's just knowing things ahead of time.
Oh, God, that's so cool. Okay, Bonnie, is there anything else you'd like to mention before I ask you a couple things? Did I cover all the bases that you would
Um,
like to share with your journey or anything about anyone who wants to
you
undertake
know,
this
the
journey
biggest
too?
thing is that everybody's journey is different. Um, I've got a friend who has talked to spirit since she was 4 years old. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Her little imaginary friend was not so imaginary. And she has a team, and she is extremely good. I wish I had
Mm-hmm.
her gifts, but she's been practicing a long time too.
Yes.
And everybody, how do I say this? The more you can trust in all of it, the faster it's going to come to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Practicing mediumship, for instance, because I lost my son when he was an adult,
Mm-hmm.
I have always offered parents who have lost a child that I would do a free mediumship for them. That's just
Oh,
always
that's
been within my mission. So,
oh.
I've only had a handful to do, but that's probably the only mediumship I do. I mean, I will know if I'm reading and I get, when spirit is here or when somebody's here, you just, there's a feeling.
Yes, you
Um,
do.
so I will know, and then it's a matter of evidential, tell me who you are. How did you die? How are you
Mm.
related? Give me proof, evidence. It's evidence based
Yes.
mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one I remember was this woman, a friend of mine in Arizona, called me up and she said she knew this gal. They weren't really close, but she had learned that she had lost her son and she
Mm-hmm.
was just really grieving badly. I said, okay,
Yes, such a
well,
hard loss.
it is. It's not easy to go through.
No.
But she had been going through this for 5 years. And 5 years is a long time. You need to kind of be going through a process with it, not just being in that
Grieving.
ocean of grief all the
Grief.
time.
Yes.
So I told her I would, I got the information that I needed. And then the next day, because mediumship will drain you even more than anything else. I can
Oh,
do,
really?
oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could, that's why it costs so much. I can do one mediumship a day. That's it. Because it takes
Oh.
when I'm done with it, I got to go lay down and go sleep.
Oh,
It just
wow.
wipes you out. Yeah. But I do
Wow.
remember having her son come in because I called him in and man, he was like, he came in like a lion. He just roared in and it was like, whoa, back up just a little. You're kind of powerful here. And so I asked him questions and got information. And then I went back to her and told her. And everything I told her was true. So she
Oh,
felt
good.
better. I said, you really need to move forward. He wants you to move forward. You cannot lose your life over this. And it's hard.
I hear that time and time again. Um, when people give people advice, your loved one wants you to continue living and loving and
Exactly.
not give up.
Right.
Yeah. But it's hard when you're enmeshed in that grief. It
Oh,
really is.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
remember,
You went through it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember about a year. Oh, let me think here 14, 15. At least a year after I lost my son, I was living
Hmm.
in this house and I had what do they call them? ADT, the home security system thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it has
Yep.
this panel thing, and you got to punch in your codes and whatnot.
Yep.
Well, this was back 10 years ago, and the panel was there, and you had to pull down this lever door so you could punch in all your numbers. I
Okay.
always left that panel down because I was like, keep opening and closing, it's going to break. So just leave it open.
Leave it open.
I did. That night, I was begging my son to give me a sign. Give me a sign that you're okay, that you're with your father, that you are. Because my son, talk about fighting with your own demons when it comes to religion.
Mm-hmm.
My son was not a religious person at all. He thought he was atheist. That was hard with somebody who has a very strong faith, because here he was gone. Now I needed to know, is he okay?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that night I went to bed, and in the morning when I got up, I went over to punch in my number, and the
Mm-hmm.
panel on my thing had been shut.
Oh, that was his sign to you.
Hmm. And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I saw it, I knew.
Oh God, I just got chills, Bonnie.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always wonderful when they show up. I've
Yeah.
got I have a lot of friends who are psychic and medium and all that. And one of them in Arizona focuses just on her mediumship. And I lost um, a very dear man to me about 2 years, coming up on 2 years, I guess a year and a half ago. And
Mm-hmm.
that was tough because we were going to make a life together. And he had, when I was trying to decide whether to move where I am, I had a choice whether to move here with my children or to move
Mm-hmm.
back to Florida where I was from, and that's where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really hard decision to make. And I finally decided, along with talking with him, that it's better to go with them for right now, that it's just a right now decision. And he said he would pay for that move, and then once a year or two went by, then I could move down. And
Mm-hmm.
he did pay. And the night he passed away, I heard him. He came to me, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, "Don't worry about the money. It's my gift."
Oh,
And
Bonnie.
of course, I've been doing this long. You'd think you'd get used to certain things.
Mm-mm.
Nope. You immediately want to go, no, you're not gone. You're not, don't
Mm.
get away. You're not talking to me from the other. No, And certainly enough, he was. Um,
Um,
so yeah, it's just that trust. It just all comes back down to, I heard his voice. So I don't know why I thought it would be my voice. It was his voice.
you just didn't want that to be true, possibly.
Oh,
That,
no, I didn't.
yeah, he's not
Because,
really behind the veil.
yeah,
Because you're going to have a life with him.
I mean, we were, I think the night he had a massive heart attack, and we were texting, and all of a sudden he didn't answer my text. He
Oh,
worked from home. So I thought, you
oh
know,
no.
but that's what happened.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, and I didn't find out for quite a while.
Yeah, because someone would have to contact you.
They
Oh,
didn't.
Bonnie. That gosh, you have some really tragic events in your life.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
spirit's way of saying, guess what you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, when my husband died and he told me it was 4-year growth, I was so pissed off. But you're getting the same message. This is 4-year growth.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
all
Yeah.
about you. Yeah.
And yeah, that's not what you want to hear.
No, it's not. Not when you have other plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope things have evened out since that happened and you're finding more
Yeah.
peace with
Yeah.
that.
Like I said, my girlfriend in Arizona, who's a medium, she called him up, and so he answered questions and whatnot. We had our
Oh, good.
last time. And it was kind of funny because she also said, "Can you feel your son?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And she
Mhm.
goes, "He's standing next to you and he's holding your dog."
Oh my gosh.
Because the
Oh.
same time, within like 6 months,
Hmm.
just before I moved here, I lost my one of my dogs. And sh again, with the trust, I had heard she had a brain tumor and her behavior was just getting a little off. And I remember
Hmm.
looking at her and heard brain tumor. And I thought, oh, that's odd. And sure
Hmm.
enough, one weekend she just started seizing. And so I
Oh,
had
poor
to
baby.
let her go. And that was 3 months before he passed.
Oh, Lord, Bonnie.
2 months, let's see, December, January, February, 2 months later, my other dog passed.
Oh,
So, yeah, that was not an easy time. And in between that,
no.
I moved here cross
Yeah.
country. I
Oh
was
my
losing my
gosh.
hair at that point.
I hear ya. I hear ya. Yeah, stress does that. Stress
Hmm.
does that. Oh, Bonnie. Okay, so people can, we have your links down below. They can reach you that way. And is that offer still good for anyone that's lost a child?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's part of the mission. I
Well, I have
I
a
made
friend.
that promise.
Okay, because I'm going to talk to a friend. I don't know her that well. I don't know if how she would feel about this, but I'm going to let her know, and I'm not going to tell you any of the specifics because I know you
Yeah.
don't want to know them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
Bonnie, it's a pleasure. Anything else? I want to make sure you've covered all your bases.
No, I think that's. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's just you got to learn to trust your higher power.
Yeah, trust is the big theme here. I'm feeling so much
Big
trust.
time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you doubt yourself and don't doubt yourself. Trust that this is true. I
Mm-hmm.
remember relaying, I have another friend. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you because I'm going to tell him to reach out to you. So I can't tell you. Never mind. I know two people that have lost a child. Oh gosh. Okay. All right, Bonnie. Sorry, you got me on a tangent now. It is
That's okay.
always a pleasure having you
It.
here. And I don't have you for another reason. We got to figure out one. Okay.
Okay. You
All
do
right. Thank
that.
you.
You take care.
All
God
right.
bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, very much. Bye.
Bye.